All right, guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of my garden prep video. So let's get to it. So as you can see, I have my dog with me. He's helping. He's supervising, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to make sure that I'm doing the right things, making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and at the same time just wandering off somewhere. So all right, so again, this is breaking down my garden from 2018, from last year, and I'm basically recycling a lot of the materials for this year, 2019. So in the corner by the door, that's where I grew all of my plants. I am taking the containers from over there, moving it to where I'm at now, breaking things down and everything like that. So I'm going to talk about exactly what I'm doing. So basically, each container has the plants in them, the dead plants. So what I would do is I would take the dead plant out of the container. I would take the dead plant. I will break the leaves off of the plant, and I am going to break the leaves, kind of break the leaves apart, the individual leaves, or I'll grab a bunch of leaves together and just kind of break them apart. And I have a couple of containers set aside. So in one container, I have leaves that I'm breaking apart and putting in them. So what I'm going to do with that container of broken down leaves is I'm going to use it as essentially compost, right? So I'm recycling all these materials, and I'm using it as compost that I'm going to put back, mix into the soil that I'm going to recycle. So that's what I'm doing with the leaves there. So I'm taking apart the leaves from the plant, stripping it down to the bare, right? To the bare stem. And what I'm doing with that stem is I'm actually saving it. I'm saving the stem of the plant, because I'm going to use them this year, or just for future growing seasons, as stakes that I will use for other tomato plants or pepper plants or whatever other type of plants. So again, once I break apart the leaves from the stems, from the plant, from the dead plant, and strip it down to the bare of the stem, what I'm doing is I'm saving it, and I will use it as stakes, or use it as stakes for the peppers, tomatoes. I'm sitting down there. That's what I'm doing. What I'm doing there is I'm actually physically breaking down the leaves. And also, what I'm also doing is I am also breaking the branches. So the branches off of the stem, I am breaking the branches and breaking it down to, again, the bare minimum smallest part. And that's what I'm going to use, those branches, those broken down branches. That's what I'm going to use as compost, going back into the soil. So the idea is I am going to mix all of these materials into the old soil that I'm going to that I'm trying to revitalize, or that I'm trying to recycle. Mix them all together, add a bunch of stuff together, and that's how I'm going to get my recycled soil. So essentially, half of the soil that I have, I actually poured them in certain parts of the lawn, of certain parts of my yard that are that the grass is kind of low. Essentially, where whenever it rains, the water kind of pools in that area. So that's what I did. I pour about half of the soil in those areas, so that it can have a good buffer to when it rains, so that the water doesn't pool too much. So that's what I did with half of the soil. So the other half is what I'm recycling. So, because I have a lot of these materials as you can see on the porch, I've got the peat moss, I've got the perlite, I've got the Epsom salt, and of course, the fertilizer that I'm going to use. So I have all these things, right? But the peat moss and the perlite will add content to the soil. So I'm is essentially going to result in a significant amount of soil from the actual soil that I recycle, because I'm adding a bunch of content. So I'm adding peat moss, I'm adding perlite, which again, those are highly needed or highly essential to create a new soil, viable soil that will be able to maintain a healthy plant, a new healthy plant. So you have to have perlite. Perlite is going to help with drainage, especially when you're doing container gardening. Okay, that's all I can do right now is container gardening. I can't really do the raised beds and all that kind of gardening. The container gardening for me is more convenient, so that's why I'm doing that. But to help with drainage, to help with proper drainage, you need perlite. And also the peat moss, it helps with drainage. It helps make the soil not as compact as it would be without it. You need the soil to be essentially free in a way. Okay, you don't want it to be completely packed. You don't want it to be all squished together. You want water to be able to drain properly in your soil. You want oxygen and air to be able to pierce through your soil, so that your roots, the root of the plant, can grow out in a healthy manner, and also to prevent diseases like fungus and things like that. So you want proper drainage. So yeah, this is a lengthy process. It takes about an hour, 2 hours each time that I come out here to work on this. And sometimes I have to go inside to warm up my hands because it's very cold out there, and go back out to continue what I'm doing. But I will finish everything in part 3, and I will also talk about the things that I've missed in part 2. So yeah, guys, stay tuned. This is Dat the E-Vegan. I'll be putting out more videos and content, so please like, subscribe, and share for more updates. Continue evolving. Peace. Also, use my referral code in the description below to get 1,000 miles of free supercharging with the purchase of a new Tesla.